Okay, we're live on Zoom, we're live on Facebook. Welcome in, guys. Welcome to 9 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. Welcome to Clipper Clinic episode number 3. And I got to tell you guys, these have been a lot of fun. These have been fun for me to share, and I know these have been fun for many of you to attend and participate in. Once again, I've pulled tools out of the archives. I've pulled tools out of my collection. Modern, I think of all the clippers we're going to look at today, only 2 of them are actually still available for purchase in the world today. We got oldies, we got goodies, we got some interesting stuff. So we're going to jump into our program pretty quickly. 9 o'clock today is Clipper Clinic episode 3. 11 o'clock today is making the most of a first-time client. And this is the first time that we've done on a Thursday a class that is tied to the theme or the topic of the week. And in just a moment, I will explain to you what the topic of the week is and how the topic of the week works every week. Because every week we have a topic of the week. We talk about one particular subject. We talk about it in different ways, places. It's a support program that I provide for people that are part of my tribe and part of my community. So we'll get into that in just a big way. Big shout out, of course. We start by mentioning the folks at Barbicide, barbicide.com. We got word last night that where I live in the state of Illinois, barbershops and hair salons can open beginning on May 29, which is a week from tomorrow. So we're a little over a week away from opening up in Chicago. Everybody's stocking up on their Barbicide wipes, their Clippercide spray they need to protect themselves, their business, their reputation, and their customers. We've talked about this a lot. Barbicide certification, everybody in Illinois, if you're not, get certified, get ready to go. Get your reopening recommendation documents, read them, study them, know them, and then go out there and live them every single day as you get back to taking good care of your customers and your community. When we get back, we've got work to do, guys. Some of us have to rebuild business. Others of us are just getting back to building in a big way, and I've got all the tools to help you do that. You guys know we've got Big and Bigger, Big Busy Barbershop, Bigger Busy Barbershop, the 2 marketing books, weeks 1 through 52 and 53 through 104. Those are sold individually or as a 2-pack. This is marketing. We've also got 100 by 100. This is 100 new haircut customers in 100 days. Day 1 for the beauty and barber industry in Chicago. We know what day it is now. It's June 29 is day 1. Well, if you do 100 days from June 29, or May 29, 100 days from May 29, you've got June. So you're probably going to be somewhere in the area of about September 6th or 7th. And when you sit here where we are now and you look at September 6th or 7th, that could be 100 more haircut customers. If you're new in the business, that's 25% of your total clientele in the books, regularly buying haircuts from you, giving you money on an ongoing basis. We're launching careers here, guys. And if you've been around a little while and you're growing, this is your level up. May 29 in Illinois, in Chicago, where I live, can be day 1. And of course, we start every class with a reading from $100,000 Haircutter. Today is May 21st. It happened. I'm going to do the math on you guys real quick here. 82 to 92 to 2002 to 2012 to 2020. It is the 38th anniversary. Today is the 38th anniversary of my wife and my first date, May 21st. 8 years ago. My God, was I young. May 21, day 141, with 224 days remaining in the year. Taper with an adjustable blade clipper. That's the tip of the day. It's a technical cutting tip. They're in the book. You know the book's got advertising, promotion, hiring, training, management, sales, you name it. Technical tips as well. Classic tapering is best executed with an adjustable blade. Blade lever allows for specifically designed to create smooth, tapered transitions on haircuts. The open blade position leaves more hair. The closed blade position cuts closer. A range of choices in between gives you the length needed to craft seamless transitions. Play with this tool on a variety of textures and lengths to develop your skill and master what you can create. I get lots. How do you use that little lever on the side of the clipper, or that lever on the top of the clipper? That's your blade tapering adjustment lever. We've gotten into it in detail in a couple of classes here, and I'm always happy to take questions on it and demonstrate the unique elements of how a clipper taper lever is properly used. So big thank you for checking into the book. Anybody got a date? Anybody want to pick another one? Anybody want us to look at a second date today in $100,000 Hair Cutter? We usually do day, and then we open it up to anyone who has a request from the book. We'll give you just a minute. The tablet's firing up for the folks on Facebook. We'll see who shows up there and whether we have some suggestions, but it'll take a moment for the tablet to get to where it's going. Madison wants October 22. Let's go there. October 22. October 22, a great one to go as a companion technique with the taper lever one, because this is also about fine, close, short-haired cutting, and it's also a technical cutting tip. So today, both of our tips are technical cutting tips. October 22, day 295, with 70 days remaining in the year. You'll be well into your holidays by the time you get to October 22, if next week is day one. You'll probably at 120-ish, 130-ish by then. Cut with your ears. Short, close, tight, tapered clipper cuts done with an adjustable blade clipper can benefit from you cutting with your ears. So we were already talking about adjustment levers, and we were already talking about short, tight, tapered haircuts in our previous tip. This was a great pick, Madison. Thank you. So let's go on. The quiet motor sound and the higher blade speeds associated with magnetic motor clippers create snapping noises as hair is clipped. Now you got to be quiet for this, and Ivan's not good at quiet. But if you can be quiet, especially when you're doing the finest of your around the bottom edge, sides, and perimeters of haircuts, literally hear the hair snap in the blade. And this is what we're talking. We cut visually, and sometimes we cut tactile, meaning we're feeling what we're cutting. But this particular tip relates to cutting from an auditory perspective, hearing what you're cutting. Let me continue. When manipulating a clipper blade for precision fading, this snapping sound can be a great way to determine whether the blade is catching hair or not. It reveals cutting progress and length progression. Being quiet and listening to the hair can make you a better hair cutter. So what we're really talking about here, and it won't really demo well on Zoom or on Facebook, but what we're really talking about here is when we're down to the nitty-gritty. Blade is open, clipper is on, and I'm going to slow the clipper down. It'll be quieter and slower. Now I can hear it. I'm not so sure if you can. But sometimes when we're progressing up a haircut, especially working in fine detail, sometimes it can be very hard to tell, am I catching or am I not catching? If we're working with a fade brush and we're lifting the hair and we're trying to just work off a demarcation or a line or to create a really smooth, seamless transition, sometimes the progression can be monitored by that snap. That sound of hair. Throw me a thumb if you know what I'm talking about here. Throw me a thumb if this is something you've experienced or you can relate to it. Because I talk about this a lot, get into some short, fine, what I'll call really nitty-gritty kind of haircuts. It's the idea of cutting hair with your ears, beyond just your eyes and your hands. So great pair of tips for today. The use of the adjustable blade lever and cutting with your ears. Kind of cool. Great tips. Thank you. $100,000 hair cutter. Please go online, get yourself a copy of the book if you don't already have one. Into Clipper Clinic. And as has been the format for this program, and let me get my tablet up. I'm still here. As has been the format for this program, I've got some old tools. And what I think we're going to look at first is we're going to look at the old stuff that isn't made anymore. We'll explore those. And I've got 3 modern tools, one of which is no longer offered, but it's a modern tool with a special place in my connection to the Clipper business. It's very involved in developing it. And then a tool that's still available for purchase that is a really standout in its character. So the first thing we're going to take a look at, and again, you know, anytime I pull out one of these little brown boxes, and these are the boxes that were used in the repair and service department at Andis, anytime I pick up one of these boxes, you know it's going to be an oldie. This one is a master. It's an Andis Master Clipper. Features the detachable cords. These snap in and out of the bottom. And the cool thing is, there's so many of these old masters out there. Andis still makes the cords. You can still go online and you can still go to Andis and you can still buy a modern, updated, perfectly brand new, not old inventory, but brand new detachable cord for your detachable cord master. Now, a couple things going on with this one. It's got the old style back on it with the content that's a little different from the more modern tools. It still has your tension adjustment screw and your armature positioning screw. It still has your cover plate with 2 screws, one top, one. It still features your adjustable blade lever positioning. It doesn't click. It's a friction positioning on it. And it's got the older screw-on because of the detachable cord. The modern ones, that wire for hanging the clipper comes in through the hole in the bottom where the cord is permanently mounted in. But the other unique feature about this guy is it's a 2-speed. This one, the middle position is the off position, and then it goes up for high, down for low. So this one is a 2-speed master. Some people have not seen one of these. Some people are not familiar with a 2-speed master. I won't say they're rare, because back when they were making them, they were making a lot of them. There are plenty of them out there. If you go looking around and hunting around, it is not hard to find an original 2-speed master. The numbers engraved in the lower end of the case right there. So there's a serial number, 185 49 45. Not that that means anything. And this one's got some wear marking on it. If you take a look at it, there's lots of those nicks and scratches in the housing. And you can tell by looking at those nicks and scratches that this clipper back in the day, when it was used, no, I don't have the original box for this one. I just have the repair department box. This one was probably picked up used on eBay. It's definitely a used tool. This is not an original unused factory tool, but by virtue of the nicks and scratches and their positioning on the housing, the two things for quite a few years, And this one was hung. This was not a clipper that I keep in a drawer. This is a clipper that was held on a hook at a station in a hanging position like that, because of the fact that when they hang and swing and they bump other tools and they bump the cabinet and things like that, telltale wear and tear, marks, scratches, nicks, and kind of, you know, a little beat up like that. But that's just part of the legacy of what this is. This clipper's got hundreds, if not thousands, of haircuts behind it. But that's an Andis Master, and it's in perfect condition. It's beautiful. You plug it in, turn it on, goes like crazy. Were you to want to use this in a real shop, in a real client, on a real, any day you wanted, there's no reason. There's a little bit on the blade, a little bit of just age on the blade, but a brand new Andis Master blade will fit on here perfectly, and there'd be no reason why you couldn't put a modern blade on there and cut hair perfectly fine immediately. So that's a 2-speed Master. That's a fun little tool. Let's put that one away. Let's pull up something else. Next on the list, last time out in episode 2, I shared with you guys a old Andis Junior. And I like the Junior. I love the Junior. And I have 2 of them here I want to share. The old one I shared with you last time, the Andis Junior, was original, unrestored, and in rough condition. It was rough. It was kind of messed up. This one, this is also an Andis Junior. And we'll talk about some of the details on this one, because the 2 that I have are a little different. This one is dated about 1925 on the patent on it. It's not quite that old. It's a little newer than that. But AJ was the model, Andis Junior. And a couple of unique features here. Number one, the bale wire on the back like this is different from the one I'm going to show you on the next one. This one's got a pair of holes in the sides of the housing with a bale wire to the back of it. This one has been updated. This is a modern cord. This is not the original cord. You know, back when I worked at Andis, I had a couple of friends in the repair department who, when I would purchase antiques, collectibles, and old tools like this, my friends in the repair department, I'd bring these, and they'd clean them up, they'd tune them up. If they needed, and almost all of them had dried, worn out cords, they put modern cords on them for me. This tool is absolutely very usable. Now, the things about the Junior, but it's not adjustable. The Junior does not have a blade adjustment lever. It's a fixed, solid 000. Wall used to call a clipper like this the small solid, and it referred to the fact that the blade was solidly mounted to the clipper, and it did not adjust up and down. Like all magnetics, high blade speed. And this one, this is kind of a unique feature. You've got your armature positioning screw, and you've got your armature adjustment screw, your power adjustment. But this one, instead of requiring with a slotted screw head on it, and so many tools like that, this one actually has a power knob, and it says power adjustment right on the knob, and you can turn this with your fingers. Now, we don't have nearly the issues that they used to have, but when you have fluctuations in line voltage current, especially when and dependable as it is today, that was a very important feature, because in your barber shop, if ring at the same time, the armatures would get wanky. You'd hear that clattering, you'd hear some problems, and you'd have to come in and tune a little bit. But if one guy was clippering and 2 guys were scissoring, it wasn't such a problem. Fortunately, we don't have those problems today. Other things to point out: toggle switch on the side, unlike the plastic switches on more modern tools. And look at the wear on the housing on this. Can you see the wear on the housing? That is the result of, you can see the clipper sitting in a hand. The clipper right here resting in the palm, the clipper right here with the thumb on top of it like that, just like this, for hours. Hours and hours on end. Somebody had this in their hand with a comb, doing this and doing this and doing this. Let's pair it up. Okay, we just lost our Zoom feed, so we're going to kind of reboot Zoom here. But let's interesting. Old school Andis Junior clipper and the brand new state-of-the-art modern Zoot comb. It would have been like this. It would have been clipper over comb, holding it right there based on the wear, like this, holding it right there. It would have fixed the handle end just like that. That's exactly what this would have looked like as it was being used for real on a real customer. And I mean, you get goosebumps talking about that kind of stuff. It's actually pretty cool. Hang on while we just bring in our Zoom friends back up, because that feed dropped. All right, Zoom. I am back. Yeah, Dave, everyone. Okay, so we were talking about matching up trimmer or clipper with the latest, greatest state-of-the-art tool like a Zoot comb, and the hand patterns and the wear patterns on that, and how cool that was. So this Junior, of course, not only has the wear on the case as a result of many, many years, also has some of the nicks and scratches, again, that we've discussed as being indicative of the serial number, 248325. E was probably a acknowledgement of either the line it was made on, or maybe somebody who was involved in actually building that tool. Now I've got one more Junior here. This will be the third one I've shared with you guys. Once again, but this one has never, ever been used. It is absolutely perfectly clean. It is absolutely completely free of any indications of wear. The bail loop one is the metal loop that's attached. It's old and dry rotted, and I had the folks at Andis again put a modern brand new cord on it. This one's a beauty. The toggle switch is there. The tiniest little one. There's no wear or housing. So I've got three, and they're kind of cool. One of my Juniors is original and worn out, beat up condition, brand new, unused, and one of my Juniors is classically used tool from its era. So those three are kind of, I would have to say, in my collection, because they represent that one tool throughout pieces of its lifetime in very, very, very cool ways. So that's the Juniors. I got two more oldies I want to take a look at. This one is special. And the reason this one is special to me is not because it is terribly rare. They're out there. You'll see. Special to me now. I have the detachable cord for this one, and it's a little weirdly moldy and rotted. It's differently how the Master Clipper one's got little metal locking clips on it. It says press here, lock it, or to put it back in. For this stuff, Roger, do you get the feeling I'm right there with you? This is a clipper called an Andis Chief. It's a 2-speed, and I'll show it to you up close to get a good look at it. Some of you may have seen these. Again, serial number 580621F, like Frankie. But it kind of looks like it's got heritage with a Master. Data 1942. This guy's the model M2. It's heavy. It's really heavy. It's heavy. It's bulky, thicker and fatter than Master. Now, Chief logo features the word Chief with an arrow through it, kind of like a Native American, like an arrow through it, which is just a cool thing. The case to accommodate what is obviously under the hood a big motor. The sides molded in aluminum housing is that grooving or fluting at the sides for traction, and it really feels nice. It feels really good in your hand. The lever on here, again, a friction adjustment with a textured ball on the end of it, so you can really know where your thumb is on it. Switches on the back instead of being on the side. Rare, unique to this model. The switch is located on the back, low, high. So it's got a 2-speed switch function on there, and is not just the unique aspects of the tool, but the fact of the matter is, talk to old barbers, and when I say old barber, I'm not old. I say you got to talk to old barbers. You got to talk to old guys. A barber nerd out, if you will, on this. Had one of those, oh my God, I love the clipper. Oh my God, that was my favorite. That barber, if you can find him, he's over 80. Because this was one of his workhorse tools back in the day. And specifically what's you when I hold it up, I'll get it on the background there. The curved. It's not flat and angled like a Master. It's got a curve to it. And also what you'll know, 2 pieces. It's the non-cutter, the moving blade. And the comb and the cutter cuts it off. That's how the tool works. But what you'll notice here is a 3rd piece. I hope you can see this if I hold it up to the camera this way. Blade right here is, there's a seam right along here between metal and plastic. I'm guessing probably Bakelite plastic. It's that very type of plastic. Very durable, lasts forever, but it's brittle and it can break. The 2 screws looks like the screws go through the Bakelite, and they only really mount the blade to how that Bakelite stays on there. I don't know if it was good or if it snaps in. I've never taken the blade off this tool. Unique things about this blade is, number 1, the curve. It's got a curve that kind of lends itself to rockering. If you look at this blade on the fine end is rockered. It's thin and thin in the middle. It's fat in the middle with that rockering. It's the same kind of rockering or curvature you see on this blade. Barbers that nerd tell you how much they love this clipper for one thing. very specific thing, and that was bottom edge tapering. Bottom edge tapering, where they were coming in and scooping out and coming in and scooping out. The curve of the blade really supported that scoop motion. I will say that today, in modern tools, the closest I've ever come to something that feels like that is the Oster Fast Feed. And the Oster Fast Feed is a function of what we call blade head angle. The relationship between a vertical line here and the angle of the blade coming off the top of the clipper. The guys that love fast feeds love fast feeds. But I've talked to a number of barbers over the years, some older guys that just really geek out over the blade on their Chief. Now, I don't have one. There's a model out there called a Power Chief. I don't know what the difference is. I'd have to do the research to look into it. I've seen them. I've seen Power Chiefs. This is a Chief. It's a 2-speed. I only can imagine the Power Chief was different in terms of power level, but I don't know the answer to that. If anybody has a Power Chief, and again, not terribly rare. They made a lot of them. They're out there. I've seen them, but I don't own a Power Chief. Power Chief is probably in the history of the Andis Clipper Company that I do. But I'll get one. I'm going to get one. Don't you worry. And when I get one, I'll share it with you guys. So that is the Andis Chief. That one, again, a very, very unique and special tool as part of the collection. Next up, also an old tool. This one's cool. This one was actually sold to me by a friend in the business. He came across, someone gave it to him, and when he basically said, "You want it?" Of course, my answer was, yeah, I want it. And that was when he made me pay for it. I don't remember how much I paid. I don't care how much I paid. I was excited to have it. Check this out. You asked me if I have a Racine 5-piece electric haircutting set. Now, based on the look of this tool, I really have the feeling that this was not a professional tool. I don't know. I don't know enough about its history, but got the graphic, and what it looks like here is it looks like watching Dad cutting little Billy's hair. There. And clipper, scissor, guards, comb, and a little booklet on how to cut hair. And it's got a cutout here, so it's a pop-up display box. Pop it up to like that. Now, I don't have everything, and I don't know if they would have shown it in a store like this or how they would have used it, but I have a few of the pieces here. I have the scissors. See what we can learn from this. It says Forged Steel USA. The tip is bent slightly, but it still opens and closes. I have not ever cut hair with this. And this one, based on my measurements, is about a 7. So it's about a 7-inch barber scissors. Plain steel scissors. Triple beveled edge. I wonder if they cut. I don't think I want to find out. Little rubbery cap that is designed to go on the blade when the clipper's not in use to protect the teeth from chipping or breaking. There is a guard. This guard is a plastic guard featuring a side clip metal design, and you'll see it's broken. It's got the clip on one side, and it's got a number 1 on it. It says number 1 molded into it, but this predates the standardization of guards because my guesstimate, my eye is that this labeled number 1 is about 1/4 of an inch. So it's probably equivalent to a modern number 2. But the numbers don't really mean anything from this vintage. It's too old. So let's take a look at the Clipper. A few things we notice right away about the Clipper. Number 1, the cord. It has a, let me estimate this here. I'm 5'8", so it's got about an 8-foot cord. Consumer cords are 6. Professional cords are more than 6. They're usually 8 feet. But it's a lightweight, what we call a 2-strand cord. Thin, shielded cord. And it's not an insulated, it's not a grounded plug. A lot of clippers don't have grounded plugs. Power switch on the side. Bakelite housing. That's that hard, rigid, stiff plastic. Side for the arm, which tells me right away that this is going to be a magnetic motor tool. That it has obviously been used. In the inside corner, you won't necessarily know if the camera will focus, but right where my fingertip is, inside the blade, it is stamped 000. Now I can tell by looking at the blade that it's a 000, but it's not an adjustable. There is no lever here. This is about as fat as a big old bar of soap, like a bar of dial soap. It is thick, it is wide, it's very heavy, but it would have been a magnetic motor clipper. And 110 volts, 12 watts, 60 cycles. Product of the Racine Clipper Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now, based on the packaging and everything here, there is no indication of a date on the packaging. Model 104, packaging made in USA. The package, the box was made and printed in Chicago. The clipper was made in Wisconsin, just what you need for appearance, economy. If this is from the 40s, everything tells me, based on everything I see here, it is absolutely older than the 50s, probably not into the 30s. So that would probably make it about a 19 tool. Stamped OE on the back, that is probably some type of indication of assembly line or manufacturing for tracing purposes. Does not appear to have an individual serial number on it. And of course, right on there it says, keep blades oiled. Nice to know. Of clippers, one thing hasn't changed. Keep the blades oiled. That's the same as it's ever been. But a weird little retail tool, kind of an oddball little addition to my collection. Excited to share. Definitely a consumer tool, a home use tool, something Dad would have bought maybe at the hardware store, maybe at a department store back in the day. Definitely not a, but a classic in and of itself. All right, let's look at some more modern tools. I've got a couple tools here that are a little more modern. This one is what Andis called the Superliner. It's a model RT1. I was involved in helping develop this tool back when I was working there. This one has been used. It's got some mileage on it. This one had an imitation carbon fiber upper housing. One of the things about this tool was the housing covers on these were swappable. You could take them off, put them on. The upper cases changed so they could cosmetically change the appearance of the tool. But it's a rotary motor T-blade on and off like that pretty easily, and that was one of its weak links, if you will. It featured a fairly aggressive of like the GTX from Andis, the wider, deeper tooth. It's actually a wide narrow because there's shallow and short and narrow. There's wide and deep, and this is actually wide but narrow. A little bit of a hybrid tooth. Liked. It was never a favorite of mine. I was a big fan of. Interestingly, they still make it, they still sell it. They've had a couple of different accessory blades for it. They actually have a pop-on, pop-off shaver head for it. I'm not sure if they still make that one, but rotary. This clipper was noisy. It was really, really never really able to get it. When they were brand new, they were quiet. And literally a couple of days or a couple of hair shows or literally just a couple days in the shop, they would get very, very loud. And the blades would have a little bit of rattle to them. For whatever reason, they were never able to seat the blade in such a way that it stayed stable and quiet. They got noisy really quick. So it was never a favorite of mine, but it was made in the United States. It was not an imported tool. It was designed here, made here, produced here. They sold a lot of them, and they were really excited about it when they were brand new because they thought it was going to be positioned intending to be sort of the next generation of the outliner. It had a couple of cool features. One feature is the cutaways at the top of the housing here that cut in like that to create what we call blade exposure. Prior to this, most of those housings would have a full corner on them, but the blade exposure, much like a lot of the skeleton models now, was something that at the time was a really hot innovation. The other thing it had was it had this soft grip insert. The color on here, in this case the carbon fiber lid cover, goes around that central rubber area, and that central rubber area was nice for grip. The other cool thing about it was the back of the housing had a nice textured finish to it. It wasn't smooth and slicky. Like if you know the Pivot Pro, very slick, very smooth finish to the molded plastic. This one did not. This one had some tactile sensation to the back, and then the rubber grippy on the top. So it felt really good. And maybe if you were hearing impaired, you love the tool, but it was too noisy to really be taken seriously, I think, as a top-end tool. So RT1, otherwise referred to as the Superliner, I think it's still in production today. I think they still make it, although I don't ever feel it was a great tool choice back in the day, so it's probably, even if they still make it, it's not a great tool choice now. But part of their legacy, Andis has always been best in the industry when it came to producing trimmers. Now, next tool I want to share with you guys, and this one's brand new in the box, never been used, is near and dear favorite of mine. About the third generation of the box for the MVP. Evolved the boxes on it, but I was very heavily involved from the beginning in the development of this tool. This tool was thought up, created, designed, engineered, developed, manufactured, sold, and discontinued during the time that I worked for them. So this one is brand new in the box, never used. Key registration card, product information. Starter tube of oil. You've got a 000 blade in a box. That's a 000 in a box. And then you've got the clipper. And the clipper comes out of the box wearing a number 1 blade. Now, a couple things here. This guy, speed. There's a 2-position on the side. Narrow, very, very slim shape. We love that. Very lean contour. Fit your hand great. Originally, this clipper was first introduced as a 5-speed tool in the animal division. It was sold as a dog grooming clipper. Well, we did it in that sparkle gray, and one of the key features grip on here. This molded rubber over grip really feels good in your hand. There's no way you're dropping this tool. There's no way this tool is jumping out of your hand. Now, one of the challenges was this bad boy, the plug head on it. Look at the size. With this did not fit the outlets well. There were a reversible plug where you could turn the plug 90 degrees depending on the angle or the positioning of your outlets. But this, if you plugged it in, it went in one hole and one, so you lost a plug head. Also, one of the challenges was if this got thumped down, it almost always killed the clipper. You'd have to send it in for repair because something inside the box would get damaged. That was a problem on another clipper I'll show you in just a bit. But the plug head was kind of a bugaboo for this. We really struggled with the plug head on this. But the clipper itself was golden. It's a rotary detachable, blades popping off. It featured the removable housing cap, drive cap, the 4x4 blade drive mechanism. The 4x4, there were 4 vanes on either side of the drive mechanism. Model. It was later retrofitted to all the BG series clippers, but I think the 4x4 first came out in the animal division, and then this was the first clipper in Beauty and Barber that had it. We call it the MVP. I think that was the, I don't know if beyond that. 2 small motor clipper, 2-speed. They had a 5-speed that had a digital button here, and the problem we had with these when we introduced them is they got hot near the switch, and I don't remember what the reason why was. It had to do with a heat sink for the motor, but the motor was very compact. The motor was located in these, but the size of these, they were balanced well. They were small. I love this clipper. I still have used, I have one of these in the shop that I use from time to time. Just turn it on, go to speed 2, rock and roll. But a great tool. And MVP was what we called it. We had marketed initially a back themed promotion to take that out to the street and sell the heck out of them. When we first introduced these, I remember we launched it at the Bronner Brothers show in Atlanta one year, and we had a hoop shooting thing where people could shoot hoops, and we were giving them away for people sinking baskets with, again, a sports and basketball themed tied into the MVP name with promotion on it. But was a great clipper in its day. Didn't last long. Came in behind it. It was not a cheap tool in its time. It was pricey, but it was a heavy-duty, high-volume, rotary motor, big time. We're going to cut a lot of hair clipper. The last tool I want to take a look at today is the BGR-C. And the BGR-C is still a great tool. Still a beloved tool. Once again, I was on the team that helped develop this tool, launch this tool. We sold a lot of them. Now, this is the Ultra Edge Edition. B for beauty, BG for the BG series of blades, rotary motor, C for ceramic. Originally, it was used and introduced with a ceramic blade. This was the Ultra Edge edition that Andis actually produced specifically for a chain account customer, big multi-unit chain that did not want ceramic blades. And it was a way of reducing the cost on it just a little bit. But it was sold 000 Ultra Edge only. Now notice the plug head on this guy. The plug is turned 90 degrees from the other one, and again, that head covers 3 outlets with the strain relief on there. Was not a great design in the plug department, but a great tool. What a lot of people didn't even know was if you press this button, the cord disconnects, and you could put the BGR Plus battery in this tool, and you could run this tool as a cordless tool as well if you upgraded to the battery. 1 speed with a locking switch. That red button on the switch right there, if you didn't depress the red button, you can't turn it off. That is a holdover from the animal division. That had to do with the way the clipper is used for dog grooming, but when we moved it over to beauty, we retained that. But that's your power switch. Again, with the BG series clippers, the drive cap pops right off. Your 4x4 blade drive, 2 screws to remove and replace and throw away and swap. Made it very, very easy to service and maintain. But unlike, and this was designed, this clipper was specifically put out to go head-to-head against the Oster 76. And it was a huge, huge success because this clipper, the BGR clipper, was better than the Oster 76 every single measurable way. They took a clean sheet of paper when they designed this, and many chain accounts, many large customers switched to these clippers from the 76s. We took a lot of business away from Oster with this clipper back in the day because it was absolutely, in every way you slice it, a better tool. And it still is to this day. Compared to a 76, the Andis BGR is still a much better tool and a much better choice in almost every single cutting situation. I think if anybody has been a diehard 76er user, if they get their hands on one of these, to attach my vacuum hose to it. There are vacuum hose attachments available for the BGRs. You just have to find it. And Sarah, I know you have some military background because you've referenced that before. But military is an example of where these replaced a lot of 76s because of all those benefits that we talked about there. But yeah, they do make a vacuum hose housing attachment, cowling to go on those. Piece of cake. They may be tougher to find, but literally by the time we released that clipper, they had vac attachments for it, so you could use a vacuum with it. All right, guys, that's Clipper Clinic episode 3. I do want to tell you, I do want to invite you next week on Wednesday, the 27th, at 9 o'clock. We're going to do, or 10 o'clock, I'm sorry. Next week, this class is going to move to 10 o'clock. I'm going to do Clipper Clinic episode 4. And episode 4 is going to be a look at detachable blades. We're going to look at every single size detachable blade that they make. We're going to talk about what it is. We're going to talk about what it does. We're going to talk about how to use it. We're going to talk about the whys on it. We're going to break it down. So next week, Clipper Clinic episode 4 is going to be your expose, your exploration of detachable blades for the detachable blade category. So your BGRs, your MVPs, your Oster 76ers, your Oster 111s, your Oster Model 10s, anything that takes a rotary detachable blade clipper, your Andis Ultras, your Andis ZR, ZR2, all that stuff. That's what we're going to take a look at next time. So thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed Clipper Clinic episode 3. Episode 4 is coming up. Get online. Get your Barbicide support information. Go to ivanzoot.com. Get your $100,000 hair cutter. Get your books. Get your Zoot combs. Still got them in stock and shipping right away. We'll see you again. We'll see you at 11 o'clock today for how to make the most of a first-time client. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.